do my spiel about welcoming everybody in and make sure that they could raise their hands. So I could see our participants streaming in now.
Cool.
Welcome
yeah, and I
to
don't
the
know.
webinar.
Do you sometimes let them at least say hello? Like not, can you have them not unmute just to say?
We will open them up in the Q&A, and I will allow.
Okay.
I will ask everybody to raise their hands if they want to speak, and I will unmute those or not unmute, but allow to speak those who want to speak. And it looks like we are a quarter of the way there.
Great.
So welcome. We're just waiting for everybody to come into the webinar, and we will begin shortly. I'm seeing some familiar names. That's so good.
Good. Yeah, I don't see the number where I probably.
So we're at 13.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, like I was saying, when we had a number of people register, 40 some. So
register.
Yeah, I'm showing 18 participants.
Great.
And while we wait for the rest of our participants, I want to ask our participants on the call right now, if you could hear and see us, can you please raise your hand for me? And that is a feature at the bottom of your screen. And I'm seeing, gosh, you guys are prompt. 7 hands already, 10 hands. You guys are doing good. I'm going to lower all the hands now, so I'm glad you could hear and see us. If you have a problem related to the presentation, maybe you can't hear or see, if you would chat that over. My name is Christopher Garcia. I'm with the SBDC. I will monitor the chat. Our speaker today is Judy Hendricks, and she is with the Sandia National Labs and Los Alamos National Labs Small Business Assistance Program. I want to make sure everybody could use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, because you could ask questions regarding the slideshow. I'll also ask you at the end of the presentation to raise your hand if you want to vocalize a question. So all of you on the call with me today, can you put a hi, hello, how are you into the Q&A, just so I can make sure that's working and that we all know how to use it. Okay, we got a hello, 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 hi. Very good. You guys are zooming like pros. So let me dismiss these.
If people have questions, Chris, then are you going to read those to me?
I will. I'll read those to you after, and then we'll ask anybody who wants to vocalize a question to raise their hand, and I will allow them to speak.
Okay.
And let's see. Now that we're ready to begin, I'm Christopher Garcia with the Small Business Development Center. I'm the Small Business Development Specialist at the SBDC at UNM Valencia campus. Our program's the goal is to build strong businesses and skilled entrepreneurs, and we do that by offering no-cost one-on-one counseling and lower no-cost webinars. Our partnership with the Small Business Assistance Program is a free webinar. We welcome you, and without further ado, I want to introduce Judy Hendricks. And Judy, I'm going to turn off my video, and then I am going to turn it over to you.
Well, thanks so much, Christopher. I really appreciate this. You know, New Mexico Small Business Assistance, we're always trying to reach new companies, New Mexico small businesses, and Christopher has been great setting up this statewide webinar. Really appreciate that. So I'm Judy Hendricks. I'm a project manager with the New Mexico Small Business Assistance here at Sandia National Labs. John Martinez is also on the call. He's at Sandia. There's also Amanda Garcia and John Rogers in Los Alamos. So if we want to go to the next slide, because I know Christopher.
Before we move on, Judy, I got a question in the chat. I want to make sure everybody knows that we're not able to hear you and we are not able to see your video. So don't worry about that. And now let's progress and go right ahead.
Great. So yeah. So the New Mexico Small Business Assistance Program, it's a free program. It's a wonderful program that can really help New Mexico small businesses. It's a joint program between Los Alamos and Sandia. The idea, of course, the labs pay gross receipts tax like everyone. We get a gross receipts tax credit to pay for this program. So the state legislation realized, boy, we have all this expertise at the national labs. And we have tons of small businesses that might have challenges and might need some extra help. So to access that expertise in the national labs, to work with the small businesses to overcome challenges. So that was the whole point of this program. It's been around since 2000. So really trying to bring, if you think of all the scientists and engineers at the national lab, bringing that expertise to New Mexico small businesses for free. So, and what kind of things do we do? So for the companies, we often are testing maybe a new prototype, maybe doing some evaluation. We can do imaging. You know, we have tons of fancy microscopes, electron microscopes, hyperspectral imaging. We also have a lot of people that are experts in modeling, like aerosols, you know, fluids. Sometimes a company is developing a new type of aerosol pharmaceutical product and maybe needs some help with the modeling of that. So, and also I think sometimes people don't realize that Sandia National Labs, we employ 14,000 people. Los Alamos employs, I think, close to 11,000. So when you're talking that many employees, we have people in every type of area. Of course, we have tons of engineers, optical, electrical, mechanical, but we also have, you know, we have chemists, biologists, geologists, you know, you name it, we have it. We have people that are experts in robots and in sensors, wind energy, solar energy. Of course, we have like the computer guys that know a lot about cybersecurity and what do you call it, blockchain. Of course, we have people that know about agricultural and environmental. We have environmental chemists. We have material scientists, these guys that are specialized in different types of materials. You know, aerosols. Basically, if you're, you know, if it's something technical, it's not just energy. It goes much beyond that when you're thinking of biology and chemistry. And so pretty much we have experts in pretty much, I would say, almost in every field. Next slide. So companies can come and work with the scientists or engineers to solve a problem. And it doesn't cost the business anything. So the question is always, yeah, what is your technical challenge? Do you need help with testing or design consultation? Or maybe you need access to mass spectrometry, maybe electron microscope, hyperspectral imaging? Do you need help testing a model, testing a prototype? So it's a huge range of what we can do. Some things we don't do. Of course, the company, you don't receive money or materials. And we say we don't do websites or apps. That's because, you know, that's commercially available. We don't want to compete with the other New Mexico companies. So things, if it's, oh, now we got all the slides.
I'm sorry, Judy.
Okay.
We're trying to, we got a comment that the slides are too big for the screen.
Oh.
I'm trying to see if I can make them smaller, but I don't think I can.
Because it looks okay for me, but depending on maybe what you're looking at. So
if you can't see the full slide on your screen, in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you may have a button that suggests making the presentation full screen. If you press that, you should be able to see the full screen.
Okay, because yeah, some people are saying it looks good to them. Okay, well, next slide. So we have lots of partners. Besides all the experts at Sandia National Labs in Los Alamos, we also work with New Mexico MEP, Manufacturing Extension Partnerships. They're a nonprofit government agency. They help companies with manufacturing, and it even goes beyond just manufacturing. I mean, if you think of anyone, when you're doing research, you're doing process control, right? So MEP can come in and really help to make sure that whatever you're doing is totally efficient. They're experts in lean manufacturing. And we work with them really closely. The idea of looking at automation, that they're experts in all that kind of thing. We also work with the universities here, University of New Mexico, Management of Technology, and the School of Engineering. We also with New Mexico Tech and New Mexico State University. So you think of, that's how we're able to do agricultural projects, technical projects, UNM engineering. So it's a huge range of what we can help you with through New Mexico Small Business Assistance. Next. So what kind of projects have we done in the past? So these are some of our success stories. And we consider these project success stories because we're having great economic impact. So they had a challenge. So they had a problem, and they came to New Mexico Small Business Assistance saying, I have this technical challenge. And then they were teamed up with an engineer or scientist, wildlife protection management. They were looking at the feral horses, and they injecting them with certain things. And they were really trying to do, it was almost like face recognition, but for horses. So the idea, they had cameras. The idea, they were working on this project, they were working on this product to create this. They came to Sandia and said, well, I could use some help maybe from a scientist that knows about, sensors and robotics and imaging. So we did a project with them. Osada Energy is a company here in Albuquerque. They are working with solar panels. And as you know, solar panels keep getting thinner and thinner. And as they get thinner and thinner, there's much more of a chance they'll be cracking. So they created a new type of paste to solve that problem. But they did need some help characterizing it and some access to an electron microscope to understand the characterization of their new product. So we teamed them up with an engineer at Sandia National Labs that had that kind of background. They were able to really understand the product a little bit and do some of that extra testing on the electron microscope. Then Osada Energy actually was able to get $1 million contract with the Department of Energy. So they could, they're the ones showing that the product works, but they just needed a little bit of technical help. Cisneros Brothers in Berlin, we work with them throughout the years. The company was started by his grandfather in the back of a pickup truck, and they do duct work for homes. Then they've been expanding. They have a big manufacturing facility now in Berlin. But they were looking into getting into the pharmaceutical industry. So they had their engineers working on some designs for ductwork for pharmaceutical. They needed some help with consultation. So we have a lot of engineers and scientists that kind of know about that particles and the aerosols and that getting a really good seal on their ductwork. So they worked with them, did a consultation project. Then the Cisneros Brothers, they created a prototype. And once they created this prototype, they needed some help testing the prototype. So the following year they came in and we did some testing for them. So, right now you might have heard in the news, we've been working with a distillery who wanted to switch over from distilling alcohol to making hand sanitizer. So we work with them. We work with a lot of, solar panels, some things in the news. We work with some companies dealing with masks and some testing. We don't do certification and validation testing. Sandia National Labs, we're an R&D facility. We also worked with a glove manufacturer in Gallup who wanted to reduce his water usage. He's in the desert and making gloves. It's kind of a higher, uses a bit of water. So we've been working with them to make sure that their water use is as most efficient as it could be. We have so much unique equipment. We do fire testing, drop zone testing, you name it, we're probably doing it. So yeah, lots of different kinds of projects. Oh, there's another one, they're not necessarily, we work with service industry too. We also worked with a person, she had a sewing tool. Her and her husband were making these sewing tool prototypes in their garage. Needed some consultation, a little bit of testing. So she had her prototype and we did the testing. And then they were selling hundreds out of their garage. So next slide. So the qualifications, the company, because we get a New Mexico state tax credit, the company has to be a New Mexico company, has to be a for-profit. For-profits are the one that pay taxes. So we, through this program, we're not able to work with a nonprofit. But if you're a New Mexico company, for-profit, small business, and most, when I small business, we don't work with Intel. That's a big, most companies here fit into the small business category. And it's actually on the website that'll talk about the small business administrative guidelines. But like I say, if you're a New Mexico company, for-profit, small business, the assistance, obviously, we don't want to do something that's out in the commercial sector. So, and you don't get money or materials, but hopefully you get your problem solved. Hopefully, whether it's a report or a report of the testing that was completed or the imaging, and all work begins and ends in the same calendar year. So next slide. So for an individual project, it's a single company comes and says, I have this problem, I have this technical challenge. And it's just that one company, like I say, whether it's testing, imaging, modeling, consultation, something kind of unique that you really need, the help of the Sandia scientist. So currently, when we talk about urban counties, Bernalillo and Santa Fe are considered urban. Right now, the rural counties are anywhere else outside of those two. And that's the amount of assistance. So the company doesn't receive the money, you receive the engineer's time. Santa Fe and Albuquerque get 20,000. It's unburdened assistance, so it still goes quite a ways. They're not huge projects, and we rely on the scientists from Sandia to really understand the scope of the work, what they can do for this budget. So, and most of the money, goes to the engineer's time. So, next slide. Besides the individual projects, we do have something called leverage. And leverage, it's a way to access a higher amount of funding. It's a number of companies coming together. So like in Alamogordo, I had a bunch of companies that were dealing with lithium batteries. One had robots, another had a drone, another one was making the lithium batteries. They had lots of questions about lithium battery health. So they all came together. They all had a similar problem. They really wanted to understand the lithium battery state of health. So they come together, they write a small proposal, and you can kind of pool your money together. Those were, actually, like if it's 4 rural companies, that's worth up to $40,000 each. You can get funded up to $100,000. So when you get that kind of funding, you're probably getting a team. We'd have a team of battery experts that was working with them. So we do 2 calls for leverage. I usually say a lot of times it's nice to come in and do an individual project first, and then maybe if it makes sense and you learn a lot and you solve that problem, then sometimes people come in with companies that have a similar challenge. And we do the calls in January and September each year for the leverage. Individual projects, those are open as long as we have money. So the leverage being a little bit, takes a little bit more time doing a presentation. We just do those calls twice a year. So next slide. Project requirements. So you're going to be working with an engineer or scientist at the lab. So that person, we call that a principal investigator. That PI is actually doing the research on the project. The company will be working with that PI, and I'm working with that PI. And of course, whatever the project is, we still have to comply with all the laboratory safety requirements. Next slide. And from the small business, we have a point of contact, someone who knows about the problem and has kind of the background. The point of contact works with the engineer at the labs or at the universities. The idea that we have one person from the company as a point of contact. And often, since sometimes we're often doing testing, so it becomes like if we need samples from the company, it's helpful to try to, get whatever that scientist or engineer needs as quickly as possible. The engineer obviously is doing his mission work. His other work comes first, but it's great for the company to be able to supply whatever the engineer needs. And of course, there's forms. We say the assistance is free, but we ask that you do customer satisfaction surveys and economic development surveys. Next slide. So in New Mexico Small Business Assistance, we are throughout the state. So we work with companies throughout the entire state, all 33 counties. Like I said, we've done all types of projects, agricultural projects and high-tech projects. Like I say, if you have a technical problem, well, hopefully, if you submit, hopefully we'll be able to, work with you. Our goal is to work, our emphasis is actually on rural companies. So we're always trying to find new companies in rural New Mexico that need some assistance. Next slide. So our metrics, because we get the state tax credit, we do report back to the state how many jobs were created. It's amazing to think since 2000, there's been over 9,000 jobs created, just through this program. And of course, the idea trying to increase all the companies' revenue, decrease operating costs, and invest in New Mexico goods. So we've assisted, we worked with a lot of people, and it's been a huge amount of money. And to be able to say over 9,000 jobs are created, that's huge. So that's what we're trying to do. Next slide. And how to apply for assistance. So on our website, NMSBA Program.org, it's actually a really simple application. Even though you're working with a big national lab, there's that orange button to submit a request, and it's a one-page form. It's going to ask you, is your company located in New Mexico? Are you a for-profit company? What's your contact information? And we really just need a sentence or two, what your challenge is. And within 5 days of submitting, one of the project managers will call you and try and get more information. Like I say, we start off with just a couple sentences of what you need help with. We give you a call, talk to you about it. Next, we hopefully can find an engineer or scientist with that type of background that has time for a project. We usually set up now, of course, we set up virtual meetings. So you can talk to the scientist and engineer so they can really understand your problem. And then I rely pretty much on the engineer to write a scope of work, knowing what the budget is. Depending on if you're an urban company or rural company, that's the maximum budget. But it's actually the engineer, hearing on what the problem is, can actually write a statement work saying, this is what I can deliver. This is the kind of report, this is how much testing I can do for this amount of money. So, and next slide. And if you have questions, these are the managers, the project managers. Like I said, we have the same program is at Sandia National Labs and at Los Alamos National Labs. And sometimes it just depends. When you fill out the form, it might ask you, do you prefer Sandia or Los Alamos? And sometimes you can just say either one. And sometimes when we get them and try to think, okay, with this type of challenge, does it fit engineer at Sandia or Los Alamos? But yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. And like I say, it's some people wonder, well, I'm not sure if my technical problem is commercially available at a reasonable cost. Just submit it. It's a one-page application and you write a sentence or two on the problem. And then that's really the project manager's job to understand. And we might ask you, have you looked in New Mexico or anywhere for this type of help? But knowing it only takes probably a few minutes to apply, you can apply and then talk to one of the project managers, and hopefully we can match you up with the engineer and get your problem solved. So, and
Thank you, Judy.
Sure. I want to thank Chris. And also Chris Garcia at New Mexico at the SBDC has been so helpful.
Oh, we're happy to promote your program. And we do have a few questions in the Q&A if you want me to ask them.
Sure.
Okay. So do you help with getting products tested for consumer safety like canned goods, cosmetics, and creams?
It kind of depends, Sandia National Labs, knowing we're an R&D facility. So we tend to do more R&D type projects, but it sounds like when you're talking things like that, dealing manufacturing and canned goods, MEP, the manufacturing extension partnerships, sometimes they know of different places too that could help. So yeah, it doesn't, like I said, it's always good to apply. We do a lot of testing on various things. Like I said, we don't like certify things or do a validation testing of sterility or something per se, but we can do the R&D testing. So you can kind of understand maybe your prototype better.
Perfect. And there was a similar question about lotions and cosmetics. So you can't maybe put a seal on it that says it's approved for the public, but you can help test it.
Well, I could
in different ways.
NMSAU does a lot of that type of testing. So from all our partners, there's usually someone out there, one of our partners, that has more expertise. So yeah, we do a wide range of testing.
Perfect. And I don't have anything typed in the Q&A. I'm going to go to the participants now, and I'm going to allow them to talk. And if you want to ask a question, please raise your hand. And then I will go in the order I receive the hand raising so we don't get all talk over each other. Let me see here.
And the case completely free.
Is that the right one?
What was the question?
I think somebody just was on unmute. So everybody's on mute right now. If you'd like to ask a question, raise your hand and then unmute and we'll go right ahead. So let's see if there's a chat. Okay. There is a chat. So is it correct to say that this could be used to develop an invention and prototype?
Right. Yeah. Usually, like we say, we deal with lots of inventors, and people usually, sometimes, like I was talking about the Cisneros brothers, they needed some consultation first, and then they went and built the prototype, and then we did some testing. So usually we say we're not going to be the ones to probably make the prototype, because there's commercially available companies that do that. But sometimes to get you to the prototype, you might need some consultation, some testing, some modeling. And I guess one thing I'm saying too is sometimes people have a great idea. And so we're sometimes, if you work on it a bit, we can do some consultation. And then you might go off and make the prototype or make a model, and then we might test it. So yeah, we work with tons of inventors and developers. So yeah, that's definitely a technical challenge. So.
Thank you, Judy. I wanted to point out that if you wanted to get a trademark or a patent on something, we have resources for that as well. New Mexico State University has the Patent and Trademark Resource Center, and the Small Business Development Center has the Technology Commercialization Accelerator at New Mexico Tech. They could help you with patent and trademark information, and that's probably where you should start with an invention. Once there's a prototype or there's an idea for a prototype, the Small Business Assistance Program could probably be invaluable in helping you get that going.
Right. Yeah. SBDCs, you guys do all that patent and trademark stuff. Yeah, we're, think of us as like R&D. So, once you are working with the SBDC, you've done your economic development plan and your patents and things. Not that you have to have a patent, but then come to NMSBA for the testing or modeling or evaluation.
Judy, I was going to ask you, how could this relate to maybe a farming operation?
We do a lot of agricultural. I've been working with Mute Creek cattle in northern New Mexico. And a lot of times, when they have issues dealing with water, we also had their stock tanks are freezing. So they had a solar pump, and they also had the black balls to kind of keep the heat in. They wanted some help testing that, because they were interested in to see if, the solar pumps really work at those far out locations for the stock tanks, to see if they really prevented the freezing. So we had the scientists actually go out there, and they put in thermocouples and all the little sensors. And actually the two Sandians that have gone out there, I know one of them actually used to grow up on a ranch. So he was well versed on the problems of ranching. as well as being an engineer. So like I say, we've done a lot of agricultural projects, and of course we team with New Mexico State. So pretty much, think about your problem as being technical, needing expertise, in water, or even, soil things. We have, I'm always surprised at how many different scientists we have. So yeah, we're open to any type of project, any type of problem.
I thought that was an interesting one with the farming invention. We have a question in the Q&A. So can we get help with getting systems in place to grow from operating out of our home to, say, a small manufacturing facility?
Yeah, and I would say, it sounds like it might be for MEP, one of our partners, the Manufacturing Extension Partnerships, that they will work with companies trying to develop as you're going from your process, going from manufacturing. So yeah, it's a simple, if you go to our website and say, I need help, you just say what you need help in, and then we look at all the partners and try to find the best match. Would this be something that MEP might be doing? Depending on what it is, the Cisneros brothers needed some help, testing their prototype. So Sandia did that, but MEP has gone in since then to the Cisneros brothers and totally rearranged their manufacturing floor. And I think their efficiency increased by like 20 or 30%. At first, they weren't too excited about moving all these big pieces of equipment, but they did. And it's amazing, how much, if you're saving 20 or 30% in manufacturing time. So yeah, knowing we work with so many different partners, that if you apply, we figure out the best match.
So Judy, I put on the screen Manufacturing Extension Partnerships website. They are great for getting small manufacturing operations from the home to a facility. And let me see if I could find contact information for them.
Yeah, like I say,
there we go. Right.
Yeah, we work with them. So yeah, they also, you think of manufacturing, you also think of like research process, anything that deals with process control, not necessarily even manufacturing, but people doing R&D. Sometimes if you need help with your process control, MEP can also help with that.
I remember MEP did something at the campus for a local nonprofit thrift store. And yeah, it's hard to think of that as a manufacturing process, but it is. They get in the stuff, it goes through a process and then it comes out into the store. And restaurants, the same sort of thing. Right.
Yeah, as you add new products, Old Wood up in Las Vegas, they were getting into the firewood business. And they had MEP come out. They had, I think, come out before their regular wood business. And then for the firewood to understand, it's amazing how, someone that, they do this for a living, that they do the lean manufacturing and lean process control, that they can come into your facility and really understand how to make it more efficient. So
I had another question. Is there applicability for this to tourism and recreational businesses?
Yes. I mean, we've worked with everyone. I mean, at first, we have done work with services. It's more when they have a technical problem. Like I say, we don't, we're not going to do the website or the app. And usually we, if you're creating new software, so you have your own software engineers and maybe you just need some help, that is something Sandia probably could help out with.
One that comes to mind is there's that business that rents scooters in Albuquerque. Maybe if there was a problem with the software for people booking and renting those scooters, that might be something you could help with.
Right. Yeah. And there's that's just so many, you never know. I had a nuclear engineer helping a company with their ovens that were consistent in temperature. an expert like that, he can look at a problem and it's really obvious to him. So we have so many experts in so many fields that, I think, like I said, it's as long as it's not something commercially available like websites and apps, and we don't write in people's whole software, but sometimes when you have your software engineers and you just need some help, maybe with blockchain or something, that's something we could help with. So,
Perfect. Do we want to visit the website so they could see what the application looks like?
sure. And I was just going to say hi to Susan Russell too from the EDD. She wasn't able to make it, but I know she forwarded it to a number of people. But yeah, we're always just trying to access as many small companies as we can. And Christopher's been great. He knows all the people in Valencia and Berlin. So.
Perfect. Let's see here. I like to Google everything, so I just Googled
Yes.
NMSBA program.
Yes.
And here we go.
And see, there's a big orange button at the top. Says submit a request for assistance. And then here, a company name. We just, we need your email and your phone, your address. And then if we scroll down, it'll just say, of course, it's asking you, is your company located in New Mexico? And if you're a small business or profit, and you pay gross receipts tax. So just a couple questions. And then, we really just need a couple sentences. What is your challenge? What are you currently working on, and what is your challenge? And sometimes people know a scientist at the labs. Maybe they, are going to the same networking groups with the solar guys. So sometimes someone who's making the latest and greatest new solar panel sometimes might know one of the engineers at Sandia, but you don't need to. You just have to let us know what your challenge is. And then we go and look for an engineer or scientist with that kind of background that has time. And these engineers and scientists, like sometimes they're working on projects for 5 years, some of these like satellite projects go on for 5 years. They love the idea that they could, ideally in 3 to 4 months. We usually hope the projects are completed in about 3 to 4 months. So these engineers to be able to start a project, finish a project, and see the impact it has on a small company. It's really, they really enjoy it.
Perfect. Let me see if there's anything more in the chat. Nothing in the Q&A. Everybody is able to speak on the line. They just have to unmute if they would like to ask a question, and I appreciate if you raise your hand so I could get to you in an order. While we wait for that, Judy, I mentioned the Patent and Resource Center for the state of New Mexico, Patent and Trademark Resource Center. I'll show that on the screen.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions about that, and that's obviously something. I always say if we don't do it, the SBDC does.
The SBDC, and we have some webinars coming up on this subject. In fact, so look online on nmsbdc.org, and you could register for them there in mid-March. But here's the contact to the Patent and Trademark Resource Center at the NMSU Library. They are the Patent and Trademark Resource Center for the state of New Mexico. So if you contact the number, they can meet you with you no matter where you're at, and they are a free service. And then I have a question. What is the New Mexico Arrowhead Company? Maybe you're thinking of the New Mexico Arrowhead Center?
Arrowhead Center, yeah.
So that's a program kind of like the New Mexico Small Business Development Center out of New Mexico State University, and they help. Mainly what they've been doing is helping people with patent and trademark sort of technology. And then they have a film studio I know of for sure. So that's invaluable. Estefanita Rawlings is our technology commercialization accelerator representative for the SBDC. She's at New Mexico Tech. They don't have a website for her yet, or else I would show it to you. But these are some of the other resources in addition to the Small Business Assistance Program that could help you in the same area. So David Irvin, he's very smart with the databases they use for patent and trademarks. And once you're able to find out if your idea is able to be patented or trademarked, it might be a good idea to contact the Small Business Assistance Program for help getting that idea into a prototype or test a prototype, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and working with these multiple agencies is always great. The MEP is an invaluable resource to everybody in the state. And our intention with this webinar is to see if we could find these entrepreneurs who might need this technical assistance and connect them with Judy and the rest of the crew at Sandia National Labs or Los Alamos National Labs. It's kind of sounds daunting to deal with somebody at the labs, but the scientists, they're just people like us, right?
Yeah. They have a one-page application to work with the lab. That's probably the simplest application dealing with any national lab. So yeah, like I say, yeah, the engineers in our program just love working with the small businesses to actually solve a problem in 3 to 4 months is something, they really enjoy. Like I say, some of their projects go on for years and years. So to be able to apply their expertise and be able to help a company. And we always, we love to hear from the companies afterwards. We talk about our success stories, companies that, had their challenge solved and then what it led to, how many people did they hire? Did they get the $1 million DOE funding, or increased sales or,
That's right. And for example, the Cisneros brothers, that's you're maintaining 13 to 20 jobs in the rural area of Belen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that's a great thing to talk about.
Yeah. So
And I remember I went to the tour at their facility and they were making the ductwork for Texas Instrumentals, and it was literally 2 stories tall.
wow. Yeah. I mean, even hiring people part-time, full-time, is great. And that's what our whole program, we get the state tax credit to really help to have a positive impact in the state of New Mexico. So.
Perfect. Do you want me to go through the rest of the slides, Judy?
I think that's it.
Let's see. Okay, we have
And then,
so EDD.
well, the last one's the best one, Chris, right? It's got contact information.
Oh, I didn't even see that one.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, if you'd like to contact me, you're welcome to it. The information on the screen. I could help you get in contact with somebody at the SBDC, or I could help you get in touch with the other programs that we discussed. I do have another question. What if I have a business in Albuquerque but want to have the manufacturing process done in Valencia County? Yeah,
our program is throughout the state of New Mexico. And when we're talking about manufacturing, whether it's like actually, we work with companies throughout. So does MEP, New Mexico Manufacturing Extension Partnerships. They go throughout the state of New Mexico. And often, when we're working with companies around the state, like I've had the engineers go to Ute Creek up in northern New Mexico. Often, depending on what they're doing, some people are doing tire recycling in Cuba. So then the engineers, they think it's kind of cool for one day they get to go to Cuba, New Mexico, and really understand the tire recycling business.
And our state and federal programs, they tend to break New Mexico down into 5 quadrants. So Valencia County, Sandoval County is usually central. Then they do northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest, and they may have a different representative for those areas, but it's the programs are usually statewide.
Yeah, we're interested in, like I say, trying to access all the companies throughout the state of New Mexico, and especially the rural areas. And Valencia County is definitely considered rural. So, yeah.
Let's see, we got another chat. Let's see what's in the chat.
Oh, would it be? Well, that's interesting. It would be where the company actually is set up. where you're, like, if you're registered, are you registered? Though sometimes if you're, have a company, if you're creating a new manufacturing or doing something in Rio Rancho and you're changing your address, we actually look at your physical location is how we decide if you're urban or rural.
So maybe if you were in Valencia County, you might be considered rural. It's usually a 10-mile, the way the federal programs do it is if you're within 10 miles of an urban center. So maybe Rio Rancho might not be rural, but what else? Is
Rio Rancho is, yeah, we go by counties.
Okay, you go by county.
County is urban, Santa Fe County is urban at the moment, and Valencia County is rural, and Rio Rancho is Sandoval County, and that's rural also. So
I see they celebrated I think it's 40 years as a town, Rio Rancho.
oh yeah, that see how long it takes before they become they're probably one of the most fastest growing cities, I think, in New Mexico.
And again, I want to remind everybody, if you want to speak, you could go ahead and ask a question. If you want to chat it over or put it in the Q&A, we'll answer it for you as well. The programs that we mentioned, the Patent and Trademark Resource Library, New Mexico Arrowhead Center was mentioned in the question. New Mexico Technology Commercialization Accelerator, they're all statewide programs. So these are all low or no cost statewide programs. So no matter where you're at in the state, we'll be able to assist you. And this one is a particularly fun program because you get to work with scientists. And I don't have anything else. Judy, so if you'd like to end, I'm happy to end the webinar. If you want to stay on for the next 9 minutes or so, I'm happy to do that as well.
Sure. No, I think I just, appreciate your time so much, Christopher. Really appreciate it. We're always, like say, trying to get the word out about New Mexico small business assistance to our companies in New Mexico. It's a great program. And like I said, for the individual projects, at the beginning of the year, we get 2.4 million and Los Alamos gets 2.4 million. So we continue doing individual projects until we run out of money. Sometimes that might be, in the fall, it just depends. But knowing the following January, assuming that we still get a tax credit from the state of New Mexico, the program starts again. So right now, we're really looking for companies to work with. So we'd love to hear from you. Feel free, like I said, to apply, even if you're not sure if this might fit into our program. Since it's such a simple, short application, go ahead and apply and we'll talk to you. And if it's not us, it might be one of our partners. But in that, it's all through New Mexico Small Business Assistance. So by going to the one website, you can access all these, us and all our partners.
Perfect. And I am, we got one more message. Will I be able to get any help with digitizing my business? I have been closed for 1 year because of the mandate.
Oh, yeah. Even if you're, as long as you have a valid tax ID number, and that you're, filing gross receipts tax, go ahead and apply. We would love to talk to you about your challenge and let's see what we can do.
Perfect. Thank you for that one. And then to answer Dorothy, your question, if your business is registered in Albuquerque, you would be considered Bernalillo County. If your business address is registered in Valencia County, you would be considered Valencia County.
Right.
And then we got some thank yous. So we appreciate you guys attending and asking questions.
Yeah, thanks so much. This has been great. Like I say, and we'll tell your friends to your networking groups and things. Someday, like I said, usually we used to go around the state and join workshops with the SBDCs. Now we get to join the webinars. But we really appreciate all the help from the SBDCs. Thanks so much, Christopher.
No problem. We're happy to do it. It was nice seeing you again, Judy. It's nice meeting the other panelists in the group. If the other panelists want to say anything, they're welcome to.
I forgot anything, Darrell or John.
No, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, no, just a quick thank you again to Chris for hosting this and Judy for presenting. You did an excellent job, both of you. We appreciate you spending the time informing the state small businesses on the programs that are available. So thanks again.
It's our
Yeah.
pleasure and thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and if there's nothing else, I am going to stop the recording. Judy,